welcome back to the channel. Today we're setting up my bullet journal for November, and this month I wanted to create something with a wintry theme, but not like a full Christmas theme, so I chose juniper branches as the theme for November. Drawing these branches was really quick and easy, and juniper branches can be used in so many ways to decorate the pages, so I would definitely recommend trying out this theme. I started the cover page by sketching a shape of a wreath using a light brown Tombow marker, and then began drawing the juniper twigs or needles with a green Tombow pen. The twigs I drew kinda look more like leaves than needles, but it's fine since the drawings are a bit more sketchy anyway. By the way, if you like this setup video and would love to see more videos from me, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I always love to chat with you guys, so you can also leave a comment under the video if you have any suggestions or things you want to share. And you can also find me on Instagram, where I'm definitely trying to post more pictures of my bullet journal. In the center of the wreath, I wrote November with a slightly different font than usual, and I liked it so much that I used the same font several times throughout this setup. After I had drawn the twigs, I added a few juniper berries with a grey-blue Acrylograph pen, and then finally I added the details for the berries with a darker blue pen. Usually I've left the page next to the cover page blank, but this time I wanted to try something a bit different, so I created a currently page there. I drew 5 boxes under the title, where I plan to write what I read, what I watched, loved, created, and was inspired by during the month of November. I thought that this would be a fun page to look back to and see what I actually did in November. I decorated the boxes with a few juniper branches and used the branches as if they were lines around the boxes, which was a nice way to incorporate the juniper theme here. Under the currently section, I created a small space to write down the 3 most important things I want to focus on this month. After I was done with the first 2 pages, I started creating my monthly calendar on the next spread. I started making the calendar under the header by first drawing the grid with a brown marker. In this calendar, the boxes are 3 dot grid spaces wide and 4 dot grid spaces tall. There definitely isn't like too much space to write down events on this calendar, but it has been working fine for me. I've been thinking that maybe I could make a 2-page calendar and make the boxes a bit wider, and I might do that next month since December is always the busiest time of the year. Anyway, when the grid was ready, I used my letter stickers from the Archer&Olive September subscription box to label the days, and then I wrote the dates with a blue Acrylograph pen. I crossed out the days from October and December using a thin light brown washi tape, and then I decorated the edges of the calendar the same way I did with the boxes on the currently page. I tried to keep the theme quite simple and avoid over-decorating so the pages wouldn't look too cluttered and busy. Under the November calendar, I created my cleaning tracker and schedule again. I chose 7 colors that matched the theme, and I used this color code to, first of all, plan which area of the house I want to clean on which day, and also to check when I've done the cleaning on that area. To the bottom of the page, I created a section for my goals, and just like last month, I have space for my 3 most important goals for the month. And also next to each of these goals, I made a progress bar to track my progress throughout the month. On the next page, I created a weekly plan section that I use for planning different household tasks, video schedules, and other things like that. I drew boxes so that each week lines up with the correct week on the calendar on the page next to this one, which makes it easier for me to see what's happening each week and what tasks I should be doing during the week. Next to the weekly plan section, I added a this month box for tasks that I want to complete during November but haven't scheduled for any specific week yet. And I also created a box for planning for December. I drew a couple of juniper branches above the boxes for decoration, and the last thing I added to this spread is a habit tracker for my weekly habits. I chose again 6 habits that I want to do weekly, and for this month they are doing a weekly reset in my bullet journal, meal prepping, filling in my memory journal, working on YouTube related things, watering my plants, and doing outdoor chores. We are moving on to the next page, which is my schedule for the weekdays in November. The camera wasn't recording in the beginning, but I wrote the title and then drew a box around it and also added some juniper branches to the upper left and the lower right corners. Under the title, I drew a schedule that starts at 6 in the morning when I wake up at most weekdays and ends at 10 p.m. when I go to sleep. The schedule is for weekdays only, so from Monday through Friday, because I try not to plan my schedule too much on the weekends. I used the same stickers as on the calendar page, and after that I wrote the times on the left side and added a color code below the schedule. This time I didn't fill in my schedule just yet because I'm not sure what it's going to look like for the next month, but I'll definitely do that before November starts. On the next page, I'm creating my daily habit tracker. I started by writing November using the same font as on the cover page, and then I actually decided to use my letter stamps for a change, and instead of black ink I used brown ink, which went perfectly with the theme in my opinion. I started the trackers by drawing a box for each of the 9 habits I'm going to track this month using the brown Tombow marker. I also used a light grey Tombow marker as a background color for the habit titles. Then I crossed off the days from October and December and wrote the first letters of the days of the week to the thicker brown bar. The habits that I'm tracking this month are eating healthy, flossing my teeth, doing household chores, doing my morning routine and writing morning pages, filling in all the trackers and planning the next day in the evenings, doing something creative, checking expenses, and finally buying only necessary items. At the bottom of the page, I decided to create a larger decoration with juniper branches. On the next spread, I created all my financial trackers, and I decided to change these trackers a bit from October. First, I added a money goals section where I plan to write a few of my most important financial goals for November. My money goals are often related to savings, so next to the goals, I created a tracker for different things I'm currently saving for. So here I can write down the amount I have in the savings at the end of October, then the amount I added to the savings during the month, and in the last column the amount saved at the end of November. I also made some changes to the budget tracker from October. So I wanted to make it easier to track how much money is left in each category. So I listed all my 15 different expense categories on the first column. And then in the next column, I'll write the budget for the entire month in that category. And when I do my weekly expense check, I'll write down how much money is left in each of these categories at that point. And I think that this way the tracker is more useful than if I just write down the remaining budget at the end of the month. You can't really see this on this tracker, but I've also divided all my categories into 2 sections. The first 7 categories are for needs and the rest are for wants. And under the budget tracker, I created a bit more visual tracker for my groceries budget and the whole wants category. So in this tracker, I'll track how many % I have used for my budget for these 2 categories, since these are the 2 categories that usually go over budget. And I also have a color code for each week so that I can also see when I'm using most of my budget. Next we have the actual expense tracker, where I'll write down all my daily expenses. In my previous video, I mentioned that usually 1 page is not enough for me to write down all my monthly expenses, and before this I've used some washi tape and taped a tracker over the old one when it's full. But now I decided to try making the table a bit smaller so that I'm able to have my expenses in 2 columns. It does make the writing space a lot smaller, but we'll see how it works. I also used some of the space for this juniper decoration, but I thought it would make the spread look a bit more decorative since it's full of trackers and tables. On the final spread, we have the first week of November, which actually begins on a Wednesday, so I only created the days from Wednesday to Sunday on this spread. I decided to make a circular layout for this weekly spread, which I actually haven't done in a long time. I started by drawing a wreath in the center of the page, just like on the cover page, and then I wrote the title in the center of the wreath. I wrote the days and the numbers around it with a really simple font and used the brown marker as an accent color there. In the lower right corner of the spread, I created a section for my weekly tasks, which I also highlighted by coloring every other row with a light gray Tombow pen. And that wraps up my November bullet journal setup. I hope you enjoyed the video and the theme, and as always, I'd love to hear in the comments what theme you chose for November, and also feel free to leave suggestions or any other comments for me. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!